Hello students. Let's take a look at the string function and let's see what it does. Let's give it, I don't know, something simple like the number 1. And what it does is it tries to turn 1 into a string, and it does so. And it doesn't have to be a single digit number. Let's try 576. Well, it takes 576 and it turns it into a string with 3 characters, which is just fine. Suppose I were to give it the string 576. Well, it's already a string and it knows that, and it's saying, hey, you wanted a string? Well, it's already a string, so I'll give you the string. No problem there. Okay. What if I wanted to try sticking a list in there? And let's see what it chose to do. What it chose to do here is it chose to take the characters used to denote that list and make that into a string. Because really a string needs characters, and it's got to grab the characters from somewhere. So this is the best way we could possibly interpret things, interpret that input. Similarly for sets, it does the same thing. For a dictionary, 1 to 2, 3 to 4. It'll do the same sort of thing for a dictionary as well. Okay, so we have this string function that turns things into strings. Similarly, we have a list function. What happens if I give it a string and I stick a string in that list? Well, what it does is it turns the characters of that string into a list. Now, I guess you could also possibly want the entire string as a 1-element list, but if you want that, you could just stick brackets around the string. So it would be kind of silly to do that here. What list is doing here is it's iterating over the elements. So you have to give it an iterable, and it's taking the things out of Alice one at a time, A, L, I, C, E, and then it's putting them into a list. Let's try that with set. Let's try the set of Alice and see what it gives me. Well, now it's grabbing the A, L, I, C, E, but sets don't care at all about the order. So I get an A, a C, an E, an I, and an L. It doesn't matter what order it lists it in. It's all the same thing. If I were to do this, this would actually, as you already know by now, I'm sure, but it would be the same as this. Boom, because two sets are equal if they have the same elements. Okay. So we have the set here. What if I were to try taking the set of a number 1? Well, now I'm going to run into trouble, but it clearly tells me what's going on. It's saying, hey, you gave me an integer. That integer object is not iterable. So it's trying to take things out of 1, and it's failing because you can't take anything out of 1 but to make the set. But if I were to say do that or do that, that's all fine. It can grab things. Here it can grab the string 1. Here it can grab the list containing 1. It grabs the 1 from that, and it grabs and it gives me the set that just contains the number 1. And if I wanted to do 1, 2, 3 here, it'll grab the 1, 2, and 3, all as characters inside the string, and it'll use those to make the set. Okay, now there's something interesting here. What if I were to do this? What's going to happen? Well, maybe it's not too confusing what happened, because we would have the set with 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1, but repetition does not matter when we're dealing with a set. So it just reduces that. And this sort of a number is called a rep unit when you have all these repeated ones. And it turns out that we can use functions like set and string in order to do stuff to digits of a number. For example, suppose I wanted to know whether or not a number is a rep unit. I wanted to make a function that tells me whether a number is a rep unit. So let's say I have a number like that. I want to know, is it just all ones? Certain number of ones. Okay. So what could I do here? Well, I'd like to get the set of this number, but if I were to say, try the set of 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, well, then I have the problem again that it's not iterable. I can't take things out of it. So I'm going to have to turn this into a string, but there's no problem with that because I have the string function. So now I'm using the string function and the set function together. And if I use the string function and the set function together, it's going to take this number 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, turn it into a string. So now I have a string of all ones, like I had here. And now what it's doing is it's saying, okay, I'm going to turn that into a set. I'm going to grab the things from that string one at a time and put it into a set. So it turns out that if my number only contains 1, what I'm going to get is this is my set. So let's create isRepUnit of n. That's going to tell me if something's a rep unit, meaning it's a number that's made up all of ones. And what I'm going to return is I'm going to return, hey, let's take the set of the string of the number, and I want to say, hey, does this just have this as the only thing in it? And of course I want 2 equal signs because I want to check for equality. I'm not doing an assignment yet. And now let's try that. False. Doesn't matter if I have a lot of 4s. False. What about a single one? True. And a whole bunch of 1s? Also true. Okay. So we can actually use functions like set and string to very efficiently do some mathematics that involves looking at which numbers appear in the decimal representation of a number. For another example, let's say I have a number, and I'm just going to mash some keys. Oh, I have to be careful when you mash keys because you can actually get a window just for writing text, which I don't want to do. So let's insert a cell below, and let us take a number. And let's say this is my number n, and what I want is I want to know, look at the consecutive numbers. I want to know what is the largest pair of consecutive numbers in terms of their sum. So 3 plus 8, 8 plus 5, 5 plus 7, 7 plus 3. I want to know which pair has the biggest sum. So let's try and make a function out of this. And I'll say biggest pair sum. And by pair, I mean we have to have 2 numbers in a row. So does everyone understand? This would be 6 plus 2. This would be 9 plus 6. This would be 4 plus 8. And what I want this to return is I want it to return the biggest the biggest possible sum I can get of a pair of consecutive digits. And just to do a little testing here, what I could do is I could turn this into a string for this number, and then I could grab the digits from this string. Now I don't want to use set because I need the order. So what do I use? I use list, right? Because I want the numbers in order. I want 3 plus 8, 8 plus 5, 5 plus 7. So I'm going to use the list of the string of the number. Okay, so now I have this nice list here. And what I can do is I could say, okay, I want to take the maximum because I need the biggest, and let's return it. I want to return the maximum. Okay, so let's give this a name. Let's make L as the list. And L is going to be my list of the string of n. So now what I've done is I've turned n into a string, and now I have a list of all those digits. Now, here's the thing, though. I have a problem here because these are actually characters, and I want to add them, and I don't want to add them as strings. I want to add them as numbers. So one thing I could do is I could say, okay, I could try to do li plus li plus 1, but I want the numbers of li and the numbers of li plus 1. And now I need, so now the problem with this is I don't want to accidentally go over the edge. And if I have the range being L, I'm going to accidentally slip over too far. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean, let's say if I do 576, I'm going to get this error. And it's telling me I'm out of range because this is 3 digits. And what it's going to do is it's going to try and do 5 and 7, 7 and 6, and then 6 and something else. And it gets stuck. So what could I do? Well, I could just stick a -1 there. And now I can run that again. And now it's giving me the biggest pair correctly. 5 plus 7 is 13. 5 plus 7 is 12. 7 plus 6 is 13. And our function's working just fine. Let's try it with the big number that we had over here, just out of curiosity. Biggest pair sum of that number, and I get 15. And let's see, if you look, how can we get 15? I see the 9 and the 6 right there. So that's where the 15 is coming from. So you can play around with the digits very nicely when you're doing you're using these functions string, list, and set.